Hello, I'm Bronwyn Parry. I've previously written 6 fairly gritty romantic thrillers set in outback Australia, but my latest book is a little bit different. It's called The Clothier's Daughter, and it's set in Yorkshire, in the West Riding of Yorkshire, in 1816, against the backdrop of the Industrial Revolution and the end of the Napoleonic Wars. It's a romance with a fair amount of suspense and drama, and I'm going to read a short excerpt to you. But what I'm reading is from a couple of chapters in, and just to give you a little bit of the setting, the heroine, Emma Braithwaite, is the clothier's daughter of the title. A clothier is a manufacturer of wool textiles, and Emma's family has been in that business for generations. But her father has died and her brother is missing, so she's been managing the family company for some months. Very much a woman in a man's world of business. As the story opens, the hero, Adam Caldwell, is returning home to his family home at Rengarth Castle, which is near the town of Hartdale. So in the opening chapters, as Adam's riding into town, he finds a fire in a warehouse and he assists Emma. It's Emma's warehouse, and he assists her and her staff to escape. But unfortunately, in the aftermath of the fire, there's no chance for them to talk. And Emma is kind of swept away, literally, not figuratively, by her second cousin Robert, who has a very paternal sort of attitude towards her. But that night is the Dowager Countess of Rengarth's annual ball, and Emma must attend because she has to sort of show that she's fine and that her company is fine and everybody can still have confidence in it. So the scene I'm going to read is just the beginning of the ball. In the hall, Emma has unfortunately bumped into Robert, and so they're standing in the receiving line together. The receiving line moved forward, Emma and her cousins with it. She almost wished she could attach herself to another party, but those around her were mere acquaintances, not friends she could desert family for, however distant the relationship. So it was that when they reached the entrance to the ballroom, the butler announced, "Mr. Braithwaite of Sowerby and Miss Braithwaite," and Robert waved her in ahead of him as if their relationship was closer than it was. And wouldn't that just feed the speculation over the years that a marriage between them would bring their two companies into one again? Her face heated, Emma curtsied to Lady Rengarth, the Dowager Countess. "My dear Miss Braithwaite, it is a relief to see you unharmed. My son told me of the trouble this afternoon." Of course Adam would have told her, given his presumably dishevelled state after walking through flames and scrambling up and down ladders. "Thank you, my lady. Only one person was injured, and thanks to Major Caldwell, he is safe and recovering." To Emma's relief, Robert occupied himself with bemoaning the weather with the Countess. Emma moved on to exchange greetings with the Lady Lillian and her new husband, a baron's eldest son. And then Adam was the next in line, tall and solemn in his evening clothes, the crisp white collar and cravat stark against the tan skin of his jaw. He answered her curtsy with a deep bow. "Miss Braithwaite, I am thankful that you have taken no lasting harm." In the crisis of the fire, she had barely had the chance to look at him, save for the few moments when he tied the cloth around her, his face close to hers. Her brief impression then was confirmed now. No more the laughing, light-hearted young man of her memories, quick to smile, brimming with energy. His face had firmed, his cheekbones become more prominent, echoing some distant Viking ancestor. Dark brown eyes that had once sparkled regarded her gravely, shadows clouding them. After years in an army regiment that had seen hard action again and again, of course he had changed. He might have escaped physical injury, but there were other hurts there, hurts that must have cut him deeply. Would he see as many changes in her? No, impossible that there could be. Her concerns had been domestic, emotional, nothing on the scale of war and hard-fought battles over months and years. The sweet summer of their romance seemed impossibly long ago, a story involving different people, and this man was almost a stranger to her. She took her cue from his formality. "I am grateful that you have returned safely from the wars, Major." He inclined his head, acknowledging the courtesy. "I understand that Matthew is in the Canadian colonies?" Uncertain what he had heard, she lifted her chin with a show of confidence. "Yes, although I expect to hear news of him soon." "Good. And your sisters, they are not here this evening?" "They are both married to officers and gone to the East Indies more than a year ago." Not sure if his questions were mere politeness or a genuine interest in the family, she added, "Sophia has a daughter, and Lucy's first child will have been born by now too." Babies that she might not see for years, might never see if the children succumb to the heat and the many diseases of the tropics. For an instant there was an echo of long-ago laughter in his eyes. "I do hope, for Lucy's sake, that her child is not quite as much of an imp as her mother was." The shared memory of a picnic and 12-year-old Lucy's insistence she could climb a tree as well as Matthew, requiring Adam to rescue her from a high branch, made Emma smile. He remembered too. Not quite such a stranger. But Robert had finished his greetings with the Baron's son, and she must not hold up the line. Light filled the ballroom, the candles of the vast chandeliers reflecting off the ladies' silken lace dresses. The young girls, in their first or second season, wore the ever-fashionable white, although this year heavily trimmed with flounces and flowers and overlays of embroidered net. Some of the married women and older single women, like Emma, wore soft colours, or even, for some of the mature ladies, rich, bold crimsons, blues and purples. Elaborate headdresses adorned hair piled high, crowned with flowers and profusions of jewels and ostrich feathers. For the ladies in this corner of Yorkshire, far from London and the society of the southern counties, the Rengarth Ball offered the best chance for a display of wealth and fashionable taste. Emma had not gone to the expense of a new gown for the evening, and there had been little time to add anything more than some simple trim to the bodice and front of her skirt to update it. But at 25 she preferred simplicity, and the cost of new dresses and fancy trims could not be justified. The crush inside the door slowly moved forward, Emma with it. Although the very centre of the ballroom remained mostly clear, people were standing a dozen deep around every wall, waiting for the grand entrance of the Countess and her family. Even those who didn't dance, who would eventually wander off to the card tables or the billiards room, lingered to witness the opening of the ball. "Can't be an ostrich left in Africa with any feathers," Robert remarked dryly behind her. Of course he had followed her, a self-imposed duty to ensure her well-being. More paternally protective than her father, who had trusted her good sense, even at 17. Her generally good sense. Maybe she hadn't been entirely sensible with Adam on their trysts in the wood that summer, but ultimately she had, hadn't she? Made the sensible choices, done the right thing. The crowd at the door parted as the musicians struck a chord and began to play, and the Dowager Countess led Lillian and her husband in, followed by Adam leading a lady resplendent in rich blue satin, and they processed up the ballroom to begin the ball. 8 years ago it was her beside Adam, blushing and honoured and overwhelmed that he'd invited her out of all the more beautiful young ladies present for the first dance of the evening. When the family party reached the top of the room under the musicians' balcony and the Countess made her brief speech of welcome, other couples fell in behind the beaming newlyweds and Adam and his beautiful laughing partner to form the long lines of the country dance sets. Robert held out his hand to her, and she could not refuse his invitation to dance. The past and her youthful dreams were gone years ago. I'll leave it there for now. So The Clothier's Daughter is available in ebook and paperback from all the usual online sellers, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thanks very much for listening.